All right, somebody's there clearly. Suppose we better get started. Whoever's there, whoever can hear me, I'm hoping the audio is fine. If you could just give me a hand and yeah, that's fine. Like it's totally cool. Come hang out. We'll be all right. I just wanted to make sure this works. Um, I'm sure we'll get some more. It'll be all right. Um, how is Hey man, how you doing? How's the audio? Is the audio okay? Is the music okay? Does the mic need to go up or the music need to go down? Everything good? All right, sweet. Let's get started. This is cool. A little Chris Cornell to start us off. I don't know if you guys listen to music. I don't know where you guys are from. I don't know if you know who Chris Cornell is, but he was a huge musician when I was a kid. He just died a couple days ago. Some of us around my age are a little bummed, but all right, let's get started. So I guess firsthand, I'll apologize for not getting some work done. We had a lot of really big shows recently. We've been kind of all over. Actually, a lot of the shows were in Chicago, where I'm from. A lot of the shows recently are around here earlier in the year, and then we start spreading out more towards the Midwest. But I will kind of got everything spread out here. So, are we local? Are we in the U.S. or are we? Um, I don't know where everybody's watching from. We got some people coming in. Cool. This is Hangout. I'm gonna sputter for about 2 more minutes and give people a chance to come on, and then we'll get started with some tang growth. I thought this would be fun. I know we've been missing a bunch of these, and I got way behind. So I thought I thought it'd be awesome if we sat down and did a bunch of just cranked out about 3 or 4 of these. We're in right now. It's like that. It's that weird little bunch where it's all the like third evolutions for like Magmar and all that stuff. So I'm not gonna lie, guys. Generation 4 is really killing me. I'm not a fan, but we'll get out and then we'll get into Gen 5, which is my favorite. Um, so I'll do my best to just sort of ramble and talk about what I'm doing, and you guys can kind of get a sense of how this works. And then if you have any questions, honestly, I'll do my best to keep an eye on the chat. Just shout at me, and we'll talk about whatever. How's that? That's probably the best way for me to do that. Okay, so I guess a little bit about how this works is this. I'm going to take away this. I don't know how familiar everyone is in Photoshop or not, but this is where all the magic happens. This is yeah, it's cool. Like I'm not like it's cool that everyone's coming. I'm not super worried about it. I thought it'd be fun. This is just sort of more of a service to you guys. So this is where the magic happens. This is sort of a custom piece of paper I set up so that I can do as little work as possible. And this is really just a mix of sort of, pretend to be rice paper with some layers attached to it to make it look older. The green layer is actually very important because rice paper gets green and mildewy as it gets older. And so once all of this is set up, then I can just pull this up and file, and then I only have to worry about doing the actual Pokemon each day that I work on it, and then I have my little Honko stamp here. This is the actual one. You guys may have noticed that the stamp has changed. That's because this stamp here is my actual stamp that was made and gifted to me when I was in Japan. many, many years ago, about 12 years ago. And I found it in my parents' house last year, so thankfully I got to use my official stamp instead of a made-up one that you guys have been seeing for a while. All right, let's get started. So, um, basically the way this works is we have to obviously try and make these things look like old ukiyo-e artwork. So, the way that I do that is I kind of have one of two ways. I use a variety of about three tools, four tools really, but one of them is kind of basic. So I have this is the brush I made, and basically what this does is it has varying. I have my little pen here. So if you guys are familiar with digital art, basically the harder I press down, it's going to create a different width line. And the reason that that's so important is because it's just like using a bamboo ink brush, which is what I use on site to do commissions. If you guys saw that cat painting that I posted, so I use this to do a lot of my line work because it's uniform and it looks really good. But I also have another one that I use that, if you can see, has a little bit more of a diluted look to it. So you can see with this pen, sort of the lighter I am with it, the less ink actually looks like it comes down on the paper. And I think I'm going to end up using this one for the Tangella, the Tangrowth here, because he has all this weird lines and stuff, so we have to make that work. And then I have pretty much a pretty static brush for coloring in, and then I also use like a blurred brush, like a feathered brush, to do some of the like faded work. And this mimics an effect in ukiyo-e where when you put the ink down on the wood block, you also add a little water to the edge, and it gives that's how we get like the gradients and sort of the transitional color. So the first thing I'm going to do is we're going to do a little sketch here. I'm not going to lie to you. We're gonna start a little rough, but that's okay. We'll start with a little humility, and we'll have a little bit of fun. So I'm going to turn down the. I'm just going to make this brush a little bit lighter so that I can sketch with it. Some of these things I like to really go crazy with different designs, and some of these things I like to just pretty much stick as close to the original one as I can. So we're not going to start super crazy because there really isn't a whole lot of transition to get here. So I'm going to capture basically the rough shape. Tangrowth has kind of a bell shape. But this is a third step evolution. This is like the end of an evolutionary chain. So we always try and make those as big as we can and take up as much room as we can, so that when you see them against some of the other work we've done, they look bigger and they look big. Okay, so we can see here at the bottom that there are these, this semblance of, I realize that some of my audience may not have the best use of English, but I also write a lot, so I apologize if I use words you guys don't understand. I'll try and keep it simpler. So it just is these two simple legs that are kind of poking out underneath, so we'll put those. And then we have these big arms that we're gonna do last, and then these two little pokey eyes that we'll kind of end up putting in after. So I just want to give a rough block of where everything is going to be, and then we're gonna make this super light so we can barely see it, and that helps me so that I can work over it without affecting it. So the first thing I'm going to do real quick is I'm just going to very quickly, nothing really special here. We're just going to, we got to have a little space there. And I know it doesn't look much at the beginning, but trust me, this it's all a layering process. So you have to imagine that each of these pieces are different wood blocks, and then when we get towards the end, it'll be fine. So this is actually probably a good one to start with because we're going to start with a lot of experimentation. So I'm going to take the color off of this original thing, and I'm going to go back to this varying brush that we have. This thing. I'm going to start with a slightly darker color. I don't think that's really good. So there's a rule in color that is how they do like 3D stuff, and the rule in color is yep, we're having a little drink. The rule in color is that dark colors go away, bright colors come forward. That's why there's shadows and highlights. So we're going to start with a dark color, and we're going to see if we can make this all these sort of curls and vines work without looking completely lame. So in this it kind of falls like hair, but the important thing to notice is that the hair sort of flips out at the bottom like this rather than in like that. So we'll just start here, and we'll start putting in some of these tangles. Now, I know right now it's starting a little bit dark, but that's okay because as we get farther up, we'll put some lighter tangles in there. So basically what we're doing is we're creating a shadow. All right. So we'll just kind of fill that up. Okay. Now we're going to make a new layer, and that lets me work on top of what we did without ruining anything underneath. And we'll take a different color. I'm going to lie, usually I have a complete set plan when I'm going into this stuff, and I don't really right now. But that's okay, we're going to experiment live, and it'll be fun. Feel free to ask any questions you guys want in chat. I can talk and paint at the same time. If you guys have any questions about how this works, if you have any questions about how I got started, if you want to know about, I don't know, my favorite food, that's a difficult question. I cook a lot. Let's see. Okay, we need to start adding some more curly pieces here because tang growth doesn't necessarily just have like flowing hair. It's supposed to be a tangle. So the important thing about ukiyo-e to understand is that it's all a bunch of layers. It's a bunch of wood blocks, and you do sort of the outline, and then a color and a color and a color and a color. So that's how we have to work this way. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this underlying gray, and we're just going to make a little. I think I'm going to want to go a little darker. We're going to make an underlying color here. So what is my favorite food? Like if you put a gun to my head, my favorite food is pizza. Like I'm an American man. I'm an Italian American. I was actually born in Italy. I only lived there for about 2 years, but my dad was working over there. So, but I'm from the East Coast. I'm from New York. So pizza is the favorite food. easily, hands down, pizza is the favorite food. But I eat everything, man. I cook a lot of Japanese food in the house. How long was I in Japan? I was in Japan for about 14 months. When I took a gap year, which that's so funny that I use that term because in America we don't take a gap year, but many other countries do. I took a gap year in between high school and college, and I went to Japan. Um, and I went over there to on a sponsored program. So some people paid for me to go and basically represent the U.S. As a student. And I studied all sorts of stuff. I studied just about everything you can study. I studied the culture, the language, history. I studied calligraphy. I did a lot of sports over there. I really just tried as much as I could to ingest just about everything I could. It was an amazing time in my life. It was great. I lived in a place called. I actually lived in a city called Sakado, um, which was just outside of a place called Kawagoe in Saitama, and that's a pretty famous place. So Kawagoe is a pretty well-known area. So whenever anybody asks me where I lived, I just tell them I lived in Kawagoe. All right, we're gonna work on these eyeballs real quick. Quick reference for white. Important thing, whenever you're working in paintings, don't, with the exception if you're doing ink, so I'm going to break my own rule immediately. If you're doing something that's meant to be an ink line, you can use total black, but don't use complete black and never use complete white. Those colors don't exist in nature, so when you're trying to do something, always use black that's like got a little bit of red in it. Oh, just a touch, just a hint of red or green. Use white that has a little bit of blue or orange or something like that in it. You just need a smidgen, but it's enough to prevent it from being like a harsh letter thing. Um, so when I do kind of abstract Pokemon here, I like to kind of take the eyes. No, that's not where I want to go. We want to go in here. I like to kind of make the eyes a little weird. I know this is looking a little sort of three-dimensional, but hopefully that will fix once we put the aging. My favorite Pokemon is Squirtle. He was my first love. When I was a kid, and everyone was, I was like the prime age group when Pokemon first came out. Um, it came out in 1996, I believe, and I was in sixth grade, and I remember coming home one day and turning on the TV, and I actually saw the first episode of Pokemon when it got broadcast, and those eyes aren't going to work. We're gonna have to rework the eyes. It's okay, not a big deal. I remember the first episode of Pokemon coming on TV, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't see it. It was an episode where Ash he gets Pikachu. It was this whole thing, and I don't know how much of the original TV show you guys watched, but right in the beginning, there's Ash's relationship with Pikachu is very rough. They're not getting along. Pikachu is kind of an unruly pet. And they have this, speaking of which, here's my buddy. Hi. I'm working online right now, champ. I don't think the camera can see you. Um, Ash sets off in his adventure, but then he gets attacked by a flock of Spearows. And Pikachu kind of throws himself in the way and saves him. And it was one of the more emotional things I'd ever seen on TV before. And I think, like many kids, we kind of got hooked right at that moment. Um, so that's how I got started. And then right after that show came out, they immediately released the game on the original Game Boy. Um, and everybody was kind of getting into the TV show. Everybody was, that's what everybody was talking about. Everybody was talking about the TV show. Everybody was really getting into the cartoons. The mid '90s was like a golden age for it was like a golden age for comics or for cartoons. And all right, I said I could talk and draw at the same time. I will. All right. Before I start rambling, so the '90s was a golden age for cartoons for my generation. There was like Cartoon Network came out right at the end. We had Nickelodeon. We had ABC. Like there were a lot of huge cartoons in the '90s, and they were all sort of action oriented. And everybody was into Pokemon when it came out because it was a huge thing. The great thing about Pokemon is because of all the different like types of Pokemon and styles of Pokemon, um, you can use Pokemon according to your own identity. Like if you're kind of a aggressive person and you like fighting Pokemon, then you use fighting Pokemon. And the gym leaders were a great example as to sort of how you can own your styles. And everybody growing up was using. Everybody bought Pokemon Red because that had a big dragon on the front of it and it looked like the cool thing. And so everybody went out to go buy the Game Boy game and everybody bought Pokemon Red. Well, when I went to go pick up the game, there were no copies of Pokemon Red left because everybody had it. So the only copy was Pokemon Blue. So I picked it up because personally I liked the Blastoise on the front. I didn't know what it was, but I was like a dragon, whatever. Like I know what dragons are, but I don't know what this thing is, and it's got cannons on it back, and it looks super sweet. So I bought Pokemon Blue. And then I quickly realized, like, the game was meant to be traded and played between versions. So if everyone bought Pokemon Red, then no one was going to be able to trade with each other. And so I bought Pokemon Blue so that somebody was collecting the other Pokemon, and I figured, well, everyone's going to have to play with me then. The other thing about Pokemon Blue that I was reasoning with is I very quickly learned about Pokemon types, and I realized that, well, if everyone is buying Pokemon Red and everyone is playing with Charizards, then I'm going to pick Blastoise and I'm going to beat all of them. And that's kind of how that went. So I very quickly tried to like outplay Pokemon. I quickly tried to use it as like, all right, I'm going to figure this out. I'm going to strategize and I'm going to, get into this. I played a lot of games as a kid. I was playing a card game called Magic the Gathering a lot. I've been playing that forever. So it was a mix of cartoon, action, awesome character design, right? Like all of the Pokemon in Gen 1 just have these really, really unique design to them. And also I wanted to win. I didn't like the Charmander. I didn't know what it was. The Bulbasaur was fine, but it seemed kind of, I don't know, I just wasn't into it. And then I saw the Squirtle, and I was like, okay, I know it was a turtle, but I also understood that was the Pokemon, yeah, yeah. I understood that was the Pokemon that, like, got me that sweet turtle thing I saw on the cover, so I played that. And it was cool because as soon as I started playing the game, I mean, I know now they say that Charmander was like hard mode, if you think about how the game progresses. But as soon as I got to that first gym and I fought Brock and all of his stuff, and I used my guy against them, and I was like, holy cow, this water guy is kicking the crap out of this first gym. I just felt like I made the right choice. I haven't really gone off that. I've also really been. I'm going to do a little trick here real quick. So there's a tool in Photoshop called the Magic Wand, and that lets me select something that I want to select, but only that thing, so I can muck around with it without affecting anything else. So I'm just going to use these legs because I need to do this little shading underneath. So the good news is he has this color at the end of his arms here, so I can figure out what color that is, and then I can use my determiner to know that color matches that. But that's a little bit faded. So I'm going to try and make it a little bit brighter, a little more what's called saturated. It's the opposite of faded. And then we're going to use this fade tool to give sort of a nice gradient to it. Well, by the time I battled Lieutenant Surge, I think I had I would have had it. I would have had something by then. Because the first two gyms are Brock and Misty, so water Pokemon are fine. And then there's I'm trying to remember the fire guy at the end of the game. Like Squirtle is the choice for the first game. Um, I don't know what I'm trying to remember. I don't. What did you get early on in the game? Because you got the thing. Everybody used Pidgey. Everyone used Pidgeot. Because you got it early and it kept leveling up, and Pidgeot was like a great Pokemon. Maybe. Oh yes. Yeah. I definitely probably used. You're probably right. Geodude. I probably had a Graveler because I was way into. I was into Graveler. I never got a Golem. I was also a big fan of Gengar because I didn't have him during the play, but like Gengar was a Pokemon that was hard to get because you had to trade and you had to have friends that you could trade with, and Gengar was hard for me to acquire. So I remember always being partial to him. Also because like, man, it's all coming back to me now because I remember specifically that I didn't understand enough. The only way I remember beating the Elite Four was I believe I gave Zapdos Ice Beam, and I'm pretty sure that I used like only exclusively Zapdos to get through the Elite Four because I know I remembered playing and just kept fighting the Dragon guy over and over and over again until I got a good shot in with the Ice Beam to kill because that holy cow, dude, that Dragonite is just stupid. Um, One of the most unfair fights I've ever played in a game ever. So we're just going to add a little more highlight here. I don't like that line. And I want to say that I've picked blue starters forever, but that's just not the truth. That's just not the truth. Because I remember, let's see, starter wise. Okay, so I'm gonna get rid of this sketch layer because I don't think I need it anymore. Okay, so there's a trick that I can do here where I can use Photoshop to group everything together, and that way I can move everything very awkwardly. Now, I'm going to shrink this slightly, and we're going to have to, before we do the arms, I just want to check something. So, this thing right here that I'm manipulating up and down, this is this is called a mask, and this is what I use to make everything look aged. This is basically, it's like an old stained canvas that will make it look like it's printed on rice paper when I'm done. So you guys are kind of learning all the cheats and tricks here. So I just want to test. Well, that's not bad, actually. Yeah, that's not bad. Okay. I just want to make sure that it's not going to look completely weird when we get in there. Okay. So I'm going to use a slightly different trick for these arms. Rather than try and ink them out normally, we're going to use a different brush. So we're going to use a brush that looks like this. So this is my like large brush. We're going to use that. So let's get a nice Tangela color here. Not a Mudkip man? Yeah, not a Mudkip man. Let's see. I definitely went Totodile because Totodile's awesome. What else did I use? Who was next? Totodile and then Mudkip. Yeah, everyone was into Blaziken and I just couldn't do that. Yeah, Mudkip seems sweet. And then Gen 4, I had to go Infernape. I just couldn't do what is the penguin? Couldn't do that. That was just too cute for me. Couldn't do the penguin. All right, let me do some arms here real quick. So, let's just shrink him down slightly so we have room, and that way we can do some fun arms. Um, who was the Piplup? Wait. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Chinese classic character that Infernape is kind of inspired by. Um, it's a book called Journey to the West, and I'm obsessed with Chinese classics. There's another Chinese classic novel called Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and it's like the greatest story I've ever read in my life. It's amazing. But if you guys don't believe me, I have these collector edition Funko Pop figurines for Journey to the West um, that these aren't even available in America. I went to a convention and got these. This is Bajie, or the pig guy, and then this is the main priest character from that story. Sanzang. There's like a bunch of names for these people, but I call him Sanzang, and then Xiao Wujin that I have here. These are my guys. They come in color, but I got the special edition gold ones from a convention. Yeah, man, he's awesome. I've decided to finally get my first tattoo, and I'm gonna do one of Sun Wukong, the Monkey King, and I'm gonna make it myself. I just gotta find the time to sit down and do it. All right, let's get these arms down so we can move on. So we're going to, I think we're just going to copy this for the time being. So we'll go big up with a brush stroke like that. And then the beauty of Photoshop lets me shrink it down a little bit. All right. All right. Okay, we'll fan out this arm a little bit. And then we'll get the color that we stole down here before, make some hands. Just don't forget, it's ukiyo-e, so it's more about suggestion rather than actual representation. Yeah, I figured by the name. Man, I'm gonna totally butcher this, but Shiyuan, is that right? Well, I don't actually speak Chinese at all. Um, I took Chinese in college, but I totally cheated because the characters in basic Chinese are very similar to Japanese. So because it's a Chinese, so I basically just I used all my written Japanese abilities and totally cheated my way through Chinese in college. Um, okay. So what about you guys? What are your favorite Pokemons? Okay. All right. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Tangel and Tangrowth are nearly impossible to do in this format without doing some seriously stupid line work. So we're gonna call this one here. We're gonna go. We're gonna call it a warm up. We're gonna be good here. I will reformat these later to the way that they need to be, and then we'll get started on something a little bit more fun. Um, yes, close enough. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I don't know too much. One of my closest friends is Chinese, but he's a Chinese American. and the only Chinese that his parents are first generation, but the only Chinese he can speak is food orders. So he takes us out to dim sum down in Chinatown all the time, but he doesn't. All he can do is order the food, but that's enough for them to like start initiating conversation. And then he's like, "No, I don't actually speak Chinese. He's so food obsessed that that's kind of all he can do." All right, let's do something fun now. We're gonna get into what are we on here? Oh, I can hear that my wife just came home because the dogs are going crazy. Okay. Probably should have done tan growth before we get started. But let's do something fun now. All right, here we go. Now we get okay. We're gonna do some electrovire. Let's get into some fun stuff. Yeah, they're just look. Like I said, the design of Gen 4 is not super awesome. Do any of you play? Do any of you play Pokemon like online? Do any of you play like the games that you play competitively against other people? Because that's something I never did. I never had the patience to like. I just want to collect them all. I don't want to. I actually never really got into like the battling. But yeah, Savannah, you play online? What's like the team right now? What are like the good Pokemon from um, Sun and Moon that are good? What is I don't know what Pokemon Indigo is. Okay, so Electivire has one of my favorite things about Pokemon, and that is fur. Because fur normally, if you're like painting fur or something like that, fur is obviously very it flows, right? It has a very sort of flowy texture to it, so that it looks wavy and the hairs clump together and it kind of looks flowy. But in ukiyo-e, it's very difficult when you're cutting wood in a wood block to get that sort of wave because as you can see, um, there's a lot of small lines and overlaps and triangles, and that's really difficult to do. So in ukiyo-e, one of the distinctive things is that fur and hair are really just sort of straight lines in more of a fuzz, and that lets us do a really neat coloring pattern underneath. Um, Pokemon Indigo is an online game. Um, Online in what sense? Is it an official Pokemon title? Is it an official Pokemon game, or is it something that everyone else has put together? Like, what is it? Is it the same where you like make teams and you fight other players, or? Uh, okay, so another important thing about ukiyo-e is that they represent body structure in a very weird way because it's two dimensional. They try and get everything into the image instead of if I put my hands behind my head, you can't see my hands. But rather than do that, they really try and make sure that everything is visible. It's a fan made universe. Is it like what was that fan made game that came out that was like Pokemon Uranium or something like that? And then Nintendo got involved and took it off. I have the source file for that game. I downloaded it just in case. I don't know how to play it, but that was cool. And the other good thing is Electivire has kind of a wide mouth, so we can do some fun stuff with it. So uh, let's do something that's sort of like a kabuki pose. So we'll just get a general shape. Get a general shape of sort of flying saucer head. A tapered body. These bent legs are a good start. So we'll keep one. And then the other one, we'll tuck it up, give it a little bit more action here. And then we'll put a hand up here and we'll do. Oh, okay, he's got really, really big sort of Popeye forearms and very, very small upper arms. if you don't like it very much, I'm surprised you still play. No, we're not gonna do a sumo pose. We're gonna do something kabuki because he's got these big hands and he has sort of he has a good sort of tapered form. So we'll do something that's, well, you can see by now with the sketches is we'll do sort of a hands out pose to it. So I'm just going to get a general reference of where he's got this sort of like eye band thing going. Just give me a rough shape so I know where to put the eyes. So we'll put the eyes here. You know, these eyes are actually pretty small, which I think will go in our favor. So its nose goes like that, but Japanese monsters have a very distinct nose, actually, that kind of goes like this. You'll see it on dragons. You'll see it on how they do tigers. So we'll give him the monster nose, and we'll give him some sort of facial contortion. Because the Japanese like to put a lot of lines, sort of overuse of lines when they use the face to kind of add as much contour shape as they can. And then what we can see here is we can see that the hair actually comes over the mouth like sideburns. It does. It does. How does the Ninja Turtle mouth go? Like that? Oh no, it's more of a kind of like that. See, Ninja Turtles big in the 90s. I know all about Ninja Turtles, man. I think we're gonna go with kind of an angry face here. So the Japanese angry face, like in the kabuki and the ukiyo, has a very downturned outer mouth. So we'll try that, and I think it'll work because we have that hair. Then we got to do that hair. Remember, it's just some straight lines going around. Keep in mind, this is just the sketch, so we'll clean this up here in a second. Now, these antennae these antennae are not likely to be there because, oh, what are you doing, Brian? There's so much to do. So let's not forget, kabuki has eye makeup. Let's do that. Let's do some fun eye makeup. So we can put in some angry lines in there. We'll give him the circle just for reference. I think I'm going to give him horns. Give him Oni horns or demon horns, just because those sort of electrode lightning rod things wouldn't exist. I'm going to say hi to my wife real quick. Hello, honey. Hi. Hi, if you come in too far, you'll be on camera, though, so. Everything okay? Okay. What's up? Okay. All right. We got to just even these spacing out a little bit. Okay. Okay, so that gives us a start. Um, he's got some more hair down here, so we're going to have to add another layer. The, oh my god, I can't even think of his name. What is the original version of this? It's not Electro Dude, it's, what is the thing that this evolves from? Help me out, chat. Already taken care of. I'm getting notes from my wife like a real broadcaster. Okay. Dark fingers, those we'll take care of in the ink because I know how those go. Somebody's filling me in here. I'm not gonna lie, my wife is pretty amazing. She's pretty amazing. She does the majority of selling of my work. Electrobus, thank you. Oh, jeez Louise. I only have two functions. Like, my brain can think or it can paint. Can't do both. I love Cody's passive, like, you should know this? I know, I should. Alright, we'll do those fingers after. We'll come in and add these streaks, too. This is great. Kind of looks like something from Where the Wild Things Are. So, one of the things about ukiyo-e that you can't go wrong with is you really can't go wrong. You can't go wrong putting too many lines in. It's really, the important thing is to just take every possible line, aspect, curve, everything, and just over accentuate it. It's funny that the Japanese country itself is a very reserved nation. It's a country that it definitely values a quiet participation, but their art and expression is so wild. If you think about how intense something like anime is, their comics, their music, they have a huge like punk and rock scene. Um, they have all of these great cultural outlets, and this is a great example of it. Is just uh, take everything and sort of blow it way out of proportion. Okay, and then we need these cables. That will take care of. That'll be easy. Okay, I'm gonna shrink him down just for a second. This is good. Okay, now we're cooking with gas. Now we're good. So we'll pull out the ink brush. I'm gonna rotate this slightly just so I can get the face even. So I almost always start with the eyes. It's just kind of how I always learn. I always start with the eyes, but I always put in the pupils last. And the reason I do that, it's because I'm a huge Muppet fans. I'm a huge fan of the Muppets. I grew up with the Muppets, and Jim Henson taught me a long time ago that the pupils are what bring the puppet to life. So I always put in the pupils last on my images because it's the thing that gives it life. So I always try and wait. And the other great thing about ukiyo-e art is because I'm using an ink brush is I don't really have to be very exact with my lines. In fact, it's more about going in one continuous stroke rather than trying to be super accurate. I want to see whether it's worth bifocus. Nope, not worth it. Okay. My niece, if you put this song on, she will dance until the cows come home. All right, we'll add just a little bit of eye wrinkle, just to make the face look a little bit more intense. So we were here last week. This weekend there was a big anime show at Rosemont called Anime Midwest. Um, sorry, Anime Central. Anime Midwest is another show, and it's not that big. Anime Central, and it was awesome. It was absolutely amazing. Like, everyone who went was super cool. The staff was super helpful. Eyes are the gateway to the soul. Yes. No. Totally punting this line. Do this in two parts. Yeah, so I should have a lot of time to catch up on this stuff because we actually don't have any shows next month. I'm going back to New York because my mother is graduating from college at the age of 60, and I waste no effort bragging about that as much as I can because I'm very proud of her. So next week we are going back to New York State to spend some time with her and celebrate. She also just turned 60, so we're going to go back and celebrate, spend some time with my mom. My mother is also a professional painter, but she did not discover her talents until a couple of years ago, so it's been pretty great finally figuring out where my talent came from, but also being able to teach my mother. It's weird. Are there any big conventions out by you guys? Because, oh my god. See, I want to learn how to pronounce this correctly. Mr. Yu. Can you like phonetically type it in so I can tell how to pronounce your name correctly? Because I want to say Shir Yuen, and I know that's probably not true. But you said you are from, where you say you're in Cleveland right now? Honey, where are we going in September? Cincinnati. We're going to be at a convention in Cincinnati in September. It's going to be awesome. You should come see us. All right, I love this song, but it is far too sad at this moment. There we go. All right, let's get some of this hair in. Does anybody know the band The Gorillaz? If you know the band The Gorillaz, I just bought their new album, and I'm insanely disappointed. If you know The Gorillaz and you're thinking about buying the new album, don't. Just go rebuy the old ones. This is a band called Rival Sons that I discovered a couple of years ago, and they are amazing. If you're into like, if you like American music, it's hard to classify it. And what I mean by American music is not like country. That's Southern American music. I mean like American music that has that sort of like, Western gritty soul to it, like soul music. That's American music. These guys are great. Oh, you can't hear my music? Oh. Well, what do you guys listen to? I thought I put on some music so we can hear it. You guys can't hear the music at all? Is it true? You can't hear the music? Because I'll just turn it way down. I'll have to talk a lot more if you guys can't hear the music. Um, yes, anime. Okay, so Savannah, Yeah, the new Gorillaz album is really, I don't know what it is. There's like no, it's all just a bunch of featured artists. There's no like actual um, singer like in it. I don't know. I just look. I love the Gorillaz, but that new album sucks. Yes. So Cleveland, come see us in Cincinnati in September. Anime Expo. We are. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to do with the music. I don't think I actually have it set up. I'm sorry, guys. You probably don't want to hear my music anyway. Anime Expo in LA, we really were going to try and get to, but we just couldn't make it happen. But we're definitely going to try and go next year. Um, yeah, we're kind of missing some of the LA shows and the West Coast shows. It's hard. Like, we still haven't figured out the full schedule of where we want to go because we've only been exhibiting for about a year. And we've been focusing so much on the East Coast and the Midwest because that's where I am. And it's easy for me to get to the East Coast because I have a lot of friends and families out there. Um, sorry. But yeah, we want to go to what's the one up in Anaheim? Is it WonderCon or MegaCon? We want to go to that one. So adding a little bit of lines around the horns like this make it look like they're bulging out a little bit more as opposed to just like blankly sit. Now it looks like they're piercing out through something. That's a little trick for like horns and teeth and tusks. Yeah, so we're gonna hit some more West Coast shows starting in the beginning of next year. We're gonna try and hit WonderCon. I think we're already signing up for MegaCon. Um, I'm gonna go to. We're gonna try and do Seattle. We're gonna try and do Emerald City. Um, go from there. Let's see here. This looks sweet. Okay. I need a bit of a reference. All right, we do need a gin. That's fine. Ugh. Scary. Okay, we'll put some of this shoulder hair in. If you have the patience to put a lot of tight knit lines together, it usually looks better, and we won't connect it. And then it's kind of irrelevant with this guy because there's so much underneath the hair, but I can show you the technique. I can show you the technique anyway, because there's a specific way to color hair like this. Is you can't just put a solid line brush underneath because it'll look weird. But I'll show you when we get a little farther on. So I spent pretty much the whole weekend doing paintings in something called Sumie. If you guys saw that cat print or the painting that I did, that's called Sumie. And it's called Sumie because Sumi is the name of an ink. It's an ink block, Sumi ink, which is how it's made of. It's a solid block of ink, and then you add water to it and mix it up, and it makes ink. I spent the whole weekend doing that, and it's a lot different than this because you're basically just using one solid bamboo brush, and it's neat because people come in and ask for a bunch of they ask for a bunch of commissions, and you get to kind of do a bunch of fun, cool designs. The thing I'm most excited about though is I've got awoken to a show called Space Dandy. Has anyone heard of this? And can anybody tell me whether or not it's any good? Because it looks awesome and fun. So again, the important thing is to those fingers might not be big enough. I'm kind of running out of space on the page here though. I might have to shrink him down a little bit. Okay, we're gonna shrink him down just a little bit. Confirm that. Save often. Nothing is sadder than losing all your work. The great thing that I love about ukiyo-e artwork is that it's not intended to be photorealistic. It gives you a real chance. If you guys are dabbling or you like to draw yourselves or whatever, this is a great way to kind of get into it because you're not expected to have your proportions correct. You're supposed to just feel the flow of what you're doing and get in there. What is VidCon, Shadow? That's the is that the YouTube one? That's run by the Green brothers. Okay, so hairy creatures always have a distinct. Important thing about hairy creatures is always that they have tufts of hair around any joint, so the elbows and the knees. So it's important that you flare those out. And by using the creative layer effect, we can cover up that hair and get rid of it. Okay. I'm going to add another little crease there. Okay. Another little crease. Okay, we can turn this guy back up now. This is cool. I like this one. This is the most fun I've had in Gen 4 in a while. So apparently Space Dandy is it's a convention in Anaheim. But what is the focus of VidCon? Is it like, because most conventions have sort of a focus, um, like what's there? Because it sounds like it might be for like streamers and stuff. I hope you guys don't mind if I turn the screen brightness down a little bit. My eyes are pretty tired from working at the convention. Some hairy feet. Once you get used to drawing monsters for a long time, like the feet and it just starts to flow together. So you kind of, it's all muscle memory. Once you start doing stuff for, nearly 500 times, you just kind of get a sense of where it's supposed to go, which helps add to the artwork. It helps you, keep a nice flow. All right, we'll put the hand over the top here. I'm always obsessed with, even if my line overlaps another line by even the slightest amount, you may never even see it, but I'll know. Even if it's like a pixel, I can tell. I get really obsessed and I go back and fix it. Not good. Hmm. Hmm. Something's weird there. Convention for YouTube personalities is like a large scale meet and greet. Interesting. I'm not mistaken, right? That's the one that's run by John and Hank Green. Oh my god, I'm struggling with the in here. Okay. So what's everybody's favorite generation? Because I know I've been crapping on Gen 4 a little bit here, and I feel bad if it is your favorite generation. I do not. That's one of the great things about Pokemon is that you can have your favorites and enjoy them. Um, my favorite has long been Hoenn. Gen 3 is awesome. I like the Pokemon in it. I think they have the coolest design for me personally. It was certainly the most fun to paint so far. I'm looking forward to Gen 5. And I like the legendaries, like and what they do, right? The legendaries, and you know, you've got legendaries that are like control time and space and control sun and moon, and that's all cool, but there's something about the idea of legendary Pokemon controlling something so primal like the Earth, Sea, and Sky that felt like actual ancient Pokemon instead of just sort of like concepts they put in. And that's why I like them. Gen 3, Gen 5. Savannah, you like Gen 2? Why do you like Gen 2 so much? Okay, let's get some color reference here. Okay. Now we got to work in layers. So, no. We also have to not cover up our previous lines. So because this hair goes over the top of this foot, we need to do the foot first, and you'll see why. And I'm gonna be able to show you the hair coloring technique down here. Yeah, man, that's a good point. I find that every region has a pretty distinct like real world association to it. I feel like I will say the cool thing about Gen 2 is we finally got to see Ho-Oh and like learn what that was all about. Because as a kid, when you see the first episode of Pokemon, at the end, Ash sees we didn't know what it was. Like it wasn't a thing. Even in the game, it wasn't a thing. We didn't know what Ho-Oh was. The whole reason that Pokemon's even in the game is because that question never got answered. But at the end of the first episode, after a rainstorm, he sees this Pokemon that's glittering and flying away with a rainbow. And now we know that it's Ho-Oh. But at the time, like it was like, what is that? And the whole thing was like, oh, dude, you saw a legendary Pokemon. That's crazy. But no one ever like explained it. And then you play through the whole game, and you were like, oh, is it one of the birds? No. So everyone was pretty thankful that we finally got an answer to that question. I see that like most Pokemon have sort of a real world regional attachment to them. Like Gen 5 seems like it's very Japanese, whereas Gen 3 seems to be very sort of Spanish Latin America. And like obviously Alola is all, Hawaiian Pokemon, but yeah, the I guess what do you call them? Cats or I think they're tigers, but the three cats from Gen 2 are pretty cool. They're pretty cool. I know that. I don't even know how to pronounce it, dude. Sukune. That's what I guess. That's like one of the one of the few Pokemon I don't know how to pronounce. I didn't put some arm in. Everybody look away real quick. I gotta fix a mistake. Okay. So let's fix these lines real quick. I got a feeling that's gonna be a pretty boring color. So I'm gonna darken this up just a little bit because yellow ages very poorly in ukiyo-e art. So I'm gonna age that a little bit. Okay, that's better. So, for an example, with with this hair stuff that we create, if I just go like this and create a line, that looks kind of awkward. Keep looking this way because that's where my monitor is. This looks really awkward if you do it like this. There's no real way to like make this line clean up, and you lose any sense of like fluff at the end. So that's why we use an airbrush with this sort of feathered technique. And when we come in with this, it's called a gradient. It's where you very gradually go from one color to another. And that's how we get this sort of lovely color. And then I can just quickly go in and erase the outside here. And when we get to a part like this where it kind of cuts off hard, Suicune. Oh, okay. They're dogs? Shut up. No, they're not dogs. They're straight up tigers. They are not dogs. There is nothing dog about them. Well, Suicune maybe. Maybe. But the other two are straight up tigers. Okay. Alright, so now we're just going to lay down a... Oop, no, not with an eraser. Let's try a brush. We're just going to lay down a sweep. Now, normally I'd be able to just sort of select everything and fill it in with a paint bucket, but I can't do that when I have these open ends. Are they, I guess, those dogs called the legendary beasts? There's always like a cycle of those. Do you think those are the best ones? Because there's also like the weird deer ones from Gen 5, and then there's like the rocks from Gen 3. Those are pretty bad. When I did the artwork for them, I did them like ukiyo-e tigers. There's no tigers in Japan, but there were a lot of tigers in China, and so there's a lot of Eastern print artwork that features tigers. That's very pretty. So what else? What else am I thinking of? There's the rocks. There's like the gigas. They were, man, the Reggie cycle was really really hard to paint. I got a little criticism from you guys, not you personally, but I got a little criticism from the fans about how I went to do them. So, when I hit Pokemon sometimes that are so like there's no way to make them not look like what they are. There's no way to kind of translate them in any way. I usually just go to like the really elaborate ink brush. Um, Swords of Justice. What were the Galactics? Why can't I think of who they were? Yeah, sometimes it doesn't matter what you do. It's really impossible to make these things look like anything else. And when you're dealing with like rocks, like nose pass, like there's really no way I can do that without violating the fact that he's a rock. Um, so I usually fall back on sort of a big ink stroke, like unknown, right? Like the unknown Pokemon, like how in God's name do you do anything? So I just said, you know what, I'll do a cool broad stroke, and then if you look at the right side, I did the whole alphabet is unknown, but wrote it like calligraphy. I would say like the biggest challenge of doing all these things is that when you get into it in the beginning, Gen 1 is so helpful. Gen 1 was so helpful design wise to like come up with some cool stuff. I think the craziest I got was Magnemite because I really just didn't know what to do. Um, and I know everybody might have, Magneton and Magnemite might have been a little polarizing for you guys, but I thought the idea was cool. Um, oh, oh, oh. Yeah, dude, I have no idea. Oh, pardon me. Sneak yawn. I have no idea how I'm gonna do the legendaries for Gen 4. I haven't even started to think about. I've started to think about them, and I've kind of cried a little bit. They're so crazy looking. Like I'm gonna make his horns a slightly lighter yellow just to give them a chance to stick out a little bit more. This guy's a little more complicated than I expected him to be. He's got a lot of different parts, like a lot of segmented parts, which means I kind of have to keep going back in and out. See, like this. You may not have even noticed this, but you see this little nub? See this little pixel area right there? Drives me crazy. I'm just going to shave away those 4 pixels because if I don't, I'll go mad. Okay, so we're going to create another layer so we can get in and get some of these stripes in. Now I'm going to do the same thing I did with Electabuzz back in the day, is I'm going to use this brush. We'll just give a quick little, nice little textured, nope, I could use the correct brush. There we go. Just gives it a nice textured stroke. And then I'll go in and clean up the overlay. Okay. Okay, so we kind of have to go in the reverse here because we have to preserve the fluffiness of the hair. So we'll erase in reverse. Make sure we don't lose that feathered hair texture. So how about a fun question? What's your most hated Pokemon? What Pokemon can you not stand the most? And I mean, you're personally, the Pokemon that you're really not into. So no like Bidoofs or anything like that, because that's pretty common. Oh, Savannah. That cues me into a fun story. Um, Drowsy is my wife's favorite Pokemon. It's her, and I know right now she can hear me and she's not going to react, but Drowsy is my wife's absolute favorite Pokemon, and it's because when we were playing Pokemon Go last year, we'd go out together. She didn't play, but we'd just go out for a walk late at night to kind of catch some of the nighttime Pokemon. And she loved the animation for Drowsy, how he just kind of goes up and down like this. And, everyone's kind of tried to explain to her, like, yo, Drowsy's kind of a freaky thing. Like, it's not like a super nice Pokemon. She's like, I don't care. She just likes the idea of sleep. And, okay, so we're gonna, nope, that's an eraser. We're gonna give some, we're gonna do our best to kind of do a little, ukiyo-e kabuki makeup here. Are we halfway there? Yeah, some of these take a lot longer. Some of these we're actually a lot closer than you think. Some of these take a while. Like this guy's actually a lot more complicated than he looks. I didn't expect him to be so involved, but I've heard a lot of people had a problem with Miltank. Um, just because of the way that fight was structured. Like I don't know if Miltank is actually that like powerful of a Pokemon, or it's just the way that gym fight was structured. But I know a lot of people have hated Miltank for a long time. For me personally, it's Igglybuff. I cannot fathom all of those like baby devolutions that they did are just horrible. But I just can't understand what the point of them were. And at least the other ones have some semblance of design to them. But Igglybuff, man, what a stupid Pokemon. I think that's the one I hate the most. Like when they did this stuff where they kind of just took this to me is just lazy design. Like I'm not going to pretend I know what it's like to work because there's like nearly 800 Pokemon right now. I understand that it's hard to like get in there, but there's so many Pokemon that are referencing and are designed to mimic some like really amazing real world animals, and there's a great sort of interaction with people when they can go out and see them and be like, whenever I design something, uh, there's so many rodent Pokemon that it's important for me to try and find varying rodent creatures out there so that I can present different Pokemon in an interesting and different design. Like especially if you go back and look at how I did Plusle and Minun, that's like a really good example. I always try and like at least notate when it's sort of an unusual animal, so you can kind of go see where I'm coming from and something that might have inspired it. And I understand that in some of these games, they wanted to give you a chance to use some Gen 1 Pokemon. If they put Electabuzz in the game, it helps if they have, Electkid, and they wanted to continue that. But there's so many of Pokemon in Gen 4 that are just additions from other games. And they did the same thing with Gen 2, like, really just sort of more of the same. And I guess when there's so many really interesting Pokemon out there, every time they come up short, it feels, I don't know, it just feels wrong. It's Pokemon, man, you know what I mean? Like there's such incredible Pokemon out there that when they get kind of lazy with it, I just feel, I don't know, cheated. But again, like I said, there's a lot for them to do, and I understand if they need to kind of cut some corners, but okay. We're going to let's do these cables real quick. I don't need this. Oh, it'd be cool. There's this thing. Oh, I don't know if you guys have ever seen there's like the rope that's worn and tied around the back that is kind of used to represent gods. We can do that. We can totally do that. We just kind of do a thing like that. Oh, there we go. Okay, we need a red. This is not going to show up super cool, but it's going to get me at least close. Good enough. I'm going to use this for some eyeballs. Savannah? What is the food Pokemon? Is that like Pokemon that you would eat? Because that's always been the question: is what is the food source? I like it. Am I missing anything? I don't think so. Are there any details we're missing? Oh yes, some arm. Yes, yes we are. Almost missed it. I like it. I like it a lot. Save often. Now the trick is always finding the right place to put this stamp. So I think that's the right place right there. There we go. Shrink him a little bit so he looks like he'll look at Instagram. I like it. That one I like. That's a cool one. He has that sort of distinctive Japanese monster look. He's got kind of a cool, shaky pose. Ice cream, the trash bag. Somebody did a funny meme once that was, somebody did a funny meme once that I saw. It was like lick a tongue with the ice cream Pokemon. It's like, yeah. Alright. Thumbs up. I like that one. Oh, man. I don't know if I'm going to get through the next one. But we can at least get a general idea. Maybe we can ink him. What do we have next? Mag Mortar. Yeah, I'm definitely not going to be able to finish this one tonight because I already know what I want to do. And it's going to take a while. So maybe we'll try and stream some other time this week. All right, let me create the file real quick. This is number 467. First of all, Magmortar is a sweet name for a Pokemon. But the the Magmar designs are pretty lame. I'm not gonna lie. They just don't. I don't know what they're going for. These like fire duck things. They just don't work. Magbeat was pretty lame to paint too. But okay. All right. I already know what I want to do, and that's because there are like some old mortar cannons in Japan. Like in like older Chinese warfare and Japanese warfare when they started using like cannons and firearms and stuff like that. So I'd like to give his arms like some sweet cannons. I just would like to find it. I'd like, you know, um, like some sort of interesting pose. Um, hmm. The only way to really show off that arm though is to because he's also got all this fire, and doing fire is also a very elaborate line work structure. This guy's gonna be pretty complicated. Hmm. Hmm. All right, let's just get in there and sketch, and we'll see how this kind of goes, and we'll kind of get in there. We've done this before, where uh, we've had to play around with it a little time. We did that with Dragonite. It took us about 4 or 5 tries to find something that looked cool. He's got this weird like leg thing. Hmm. All right, so we'll try and tuck those in a little bit, and make them look like dragon legs. That's fire. So I'm thinking, yeah, that's not gonna work, is it? It's pretty boring. Oh, brother. Hmm. He's such a freaking awkward shape. I really want to show off one of the cannon arms. All right. We're gonna have to do this a different way. We're gonna have to do this a different way. All right. So I think we're gonna have to do the cannon aimed forward. I do like this like head bent, creepy look kind of a thing. I do kind of like that. But what if we could show off the cannon arm by having it sort of fist pumped in the other direction, like that. There we go. Okay, we can show off the cool cannon arm that way. Okay, we can make that work. All right, this will work. All right. Sometimes you need to sketch to be able to sketch. All right. All right. So we'll make this nice furrowed brow. We got this stupid duckbill. Just looks like DuckTales to me. All right, but now we get to play with some fun stuff. If you guys saw the fire we did for Infernape, you kind of know where I'm going with this. Nope, mess up. All right, we'll get some fire in here. And then, oh, we can probably do something cool here. Sometimes the more I hate the design of a Pokemon, you get some kind of cool stuff here. So there's a chin strap armor that goes on Japanese helmets, so we can maybe give them a little um, give them a little armor coming down like this. And that could be, this part here. And these legs, man, those legs are just horribly designed. So we'll try and give him a little more life. I guess he's only got 2 toes, doesn't he? That's a little bit better. Okay. We saved it. Doesn't make it look anything less like a duck, but at least we're getting there. All right. So I'm going to do my best to do kind of an intricately designed cannon system here. So if we do it like this, but then we add some sort of suggested fire designs that might be sort of etched inside. You can have this sort of sweet cannon arm. All right, we can do this, and then we'll ink it real quick, and then I think I'm gonna call it after that. But we can ink this. We can ink this fast. I believe. I believe in me. So when I do fire, I try and use an actual red because it kind of looks weird if it's wreathed in. I use more of an orange. It kind of looks weird if it's wreathed in black. So we'll go like this, and then we'll kind of work around there because the fire is sort of the most important part. Save often. Embrace the duckness. The fire duck. I heard DuckTales is coming back. That's slightly exciting. I'm not gonna watch it, but it's slightly exciting. It's a good show. It was a good show. When I was a kid, like DuckTales was where it was at, man. One of the most celebrated TV theme songs ever. That's a good question. What's your favorite TV theme song? I'm talking cartoons now. I'm talking cartoons. What's your favorite cartoon theme song? Steven Universe. See, I hear that show is amazing. I keep reading articles about all the progressive stuff it's doing, and that makes me really happy. And everybody, like so many conventions, everyone cosplays as it. Yeah, I keep hearing great things about Steven Universe. See, I shouldn't have asked this question because I don't know how old it's going to date me. Because most of my answers come from the 80s. um, I don't know. I would say my favorite of all time, though, is the show Doug from Nickelodeon. I think that theme song was absolutely amazing. There was a show on in the late 80s that nobody remembers, and it makes me sad because I remember all these cartoons that like nobody remembers. Um, like you guys know, you must know the show Cops, right? That was on. It's always on in like late night TVs to show cops. There was a cartoon based on cops, and like nobody remembers it. Makes me feel bad. But there was a cartoon. I'm like obsessed with cowboys. I love cowboys. Um, there was a show on when I was young, a cartoon show called Galaxy Rangers, and it was like cowboys in space. And the main guy was voiced by the same guy who voiced Lemure in the old Beauty and the Beast movie, the animated one. It had this awesome theme song, and it was cool because one of the characters was directly a Clint Eastwood ripoff. And I tried to go back and watch the show, and I realized that that show is like catered towards. It's like Sesame Street in space in the sense that it's like really beating you over the head moral choices. But the theme song's still good. While I've got everybody on, I have a lot of work to do in June. A lot of new pieces to do. I got a lot of time. I'm really just going to try and rip through some stuff. What do you think would make some cool pieces, both small and I'll take some larger stuff. Like what sort of TV shows and games and stuff do you think would work well in here? Steven Universe actually might be something interesting to explore. But I mean, I like what I like, so I do a lot of work based on stuff that I know and I enjoy. But like, I don't know, what is something really cool today that like I did oh, I have new artwork to show you guys. You guys haven't seen it because I never posted it until after it debuts on the show. So we have four new pieces that came out. I can show you guys them right now. How about that? I'll give you guys a sneak peek for hanging out. Let's see here. So we did okay. So let's see what comes up first. So we did a new piece on Attack on Titan. Um, Stuff I recently got exposed to. This one was super fun. I really didn't know if this one was going to work out or not, but I'm actually super hyped about this one. This one came out super cool. So we did a cool Attack on Titan piece, and then I did the three sages from Naruto. So we have Jiraiya. I'll count to 10 and let that soak in for a second. Um, we have Jiraiya, and we have Orochimaru. And then we have Tsunade with her slug magic. So those are the four new pieces. They will be available soon, although I think we already sold out of some of them. But we'll do a new print run soon. But those are the new pieces. You guys, I don't know if you guys know this or not. If you bought the book, it's in the book. But the story of Jiraiya and the sages is an actual it's an actual Japanese folktale about a ninja named Jiraiya, and he's like a Robin Hood character. He's a ninja, but he helps the poor, and he was one of his followers was named Orochimaru, and Orochimaru decided that he wasn't cool with the gang anymore. He thought that they needed to be doing more aggressive stuff and profiteering. So he left and tried to take over, and that's how the fight started between the three of them. And in the folktale, the tale is called "The Gallant Adventures of Jiraiya." Sorry, the Adventures of the Gallant Jiraiya. He is married. He marries Tsunade so that they can use both of their magic together to beat Orochimaru. It's a cool story. I'm fairly certain it's been translated into English, so it's something you may want to pick up if you are looking for a fun read. So we did the painting to kind of combine stuff from the folktale, but also obviously stuff from Naruto. Oh my God! It's such a duck. I have no idea what was going through people's minds when they designed this thing. I think they were trying to do like if you look at Magby, I think they were trying to do some sort of like volcano mouth thing. Oof. I guess they can't all be winners. I guess they can't all be winners. Okay. I'm trying to remove some of this like straight up egg shape. Give it more of sort of a pudgy look. Oh man, I even sound tired. Dude, anime conventions are exhausting. There's so much energy. Like everyone's so amped to be there. All right. Just gonna add a little variance to the barrel of this cannon, just so it doesn't look like it's if it's just like a cylinder on the end, that's a bit boring. So we're gonna add a little depth, so a little bit more like it's stacked metal or something. I did have somebody at the convention come up that was a hardcore Digimon fan and kind of let me have it. I remember watching Digimon when I was younger, like when the first Digimon came on, and everyone was trying to copy the success of Pokemon. But I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really remember anything about it. Oh my god. All hail the Hypnotoad? That would make a great stream if somebody just put Hypnotoad up on their stream channel and left it. Hypnotoad is great. I've watched and rewatched Futurama so many times. Great show. And I think it ended just right. Um, I think Futurama ended just right. You know, it carried on for a couple seasons. They did the movies, which was weird, but I think the show ended just right. It was sort of a nice. It was a neat final episode that took a little while to get to where it was going, but it kind of summed up at the exact moment. Those long running shows that end in that sort of suggested time loop. Um, if you do it right, it's a great way to convince everybody to continue rewatching your show. Um, there was a show that was on when I was a kid called Mighty Max, um, and there were some there. Okay, so I got to backtrack a little bit. So there was a line of toys called Polly Pocket, and Polly Pocket was a set of toys where it was like a clamshell of something, and then when you opened it up, it was the whole interior. So there was like, you know, you could buy something that looked like a heart, and then when you open the heart, it'd be like a summer home or something. And they all involved Polly Pocket because they were these like little tiny play sets. Well, of course, the toy company needed to branch that to men, or to boys, so they made Mighty Max, which was like you'd get like a skull and it would open up into like a haunted house. And they quickly realized that Mighty Max would make a great TV show. So they made the show called Mighty Max, which is about this kid named Max who found, like, one day randomly this hat shows up at his house. It gets delivered to his house. It's like a baseball cap. And he puts it on and he gets, like, strange powers. And then he gets visited by some people who are tell him he's been chosen. And they basically travel to all these different, like, worlds and time periods and fight this dude who's after the hat. It's a pretty typical thing. It's like, you know, the kid's got the power item, the bad guy wants the power item, he has to kill the kid to get the power item, people are trying to protect the power item, just so happens that the power item is a baseball cap. Um, well, when the show's finale happened and he finally has the rundown with the main bad guy, when they struggle for the cap, uh, like his power and Max's power combines and they're trying to use it and they end up reversing time all the way back to the beginning of the first episode. So like the show ends with him finding the cap, but he remembers it. So it's just a big time loop, and then it's like, yeah, and then you're like, sweet, let's start the adventure over, and it still retains value because it's not you just rewatching an old episode, it's you rewatching the same episode, but at a different point in the future. If you're, I don't know, it's getting late. If you get what I'm putting down here. All right, we're just gonna clean up some of this ink so everything looks normal. All right. I like that. I think that works. I think that works. Let's take this away for a second. Yeah, I like that. That'll work. I like the cannon arms. It's going to be some complicated color, but that's fine. So I'll work on coloring that tomorrow, and I'll post that. I'll post that Tang growth as soon as I get off tonight and close up. So, all right. Hey, thanks for hanging out, guys. I hope you had fun. I wanted to do something special to kind of make up for some of the time that we've lost, and this was fun. I'll try and now that everything kind of easily got set up, I'll try and do this some more if I feel like doing a long paint session or if I'm working on something pretty complicated, and we'll go from there. Thanks, guys. All right, I'm gonna go to bed. Well, I'm gonna post this and then I'm gonna go to bed because I'm old and tired. But it was super cool hanging out with you guys. I will see you on the Instagrams later.